Awesome. Cool, thanks, Carrie. My name is Jessie Jennings, and I'm a content creator here at Plaid. And today I'm super excited to show you how to make these really cute little like peppermint candy vases that are perfect for centerpieces, for mantle decor, just really great for this time of year as the holiday season is coming, or the holiday season is here, as you can see by my reindeer antlers. So like I said, they're super fun. They're really, really, really easy to make. They would make great gifts. You could put fun things in them, little gifts and notes and things like that. But they're just super easy. And you can see when you put them all together like this, it's really fun. Like little candies, and also the fact that they're pastel, super trendy this year. So I've been seeing tons of pastel Christmas decor. So just a little craft that's, like I said, quick and easy, and there's lots of uses for it. So the supplies you'll need for this class is, of course, a mason jar. So I have the larger wide mouth mason jar, but really this will work for any of the sizes. So I have my mason jar here. I've got some foam brushes, which we'll be using to apply our paint. I've got some masking tape. So any masking tape that you use, painter's tape, FrogTape, anything like that will work for this. But just keep in mind that the width of your masking tape is how far apart your stripes are going to be. So just keep that in mind. If you want to have different size stripes, you can get different size tape, but mine are going to be about 1 inch because that's the size of my tape. I also have a cup here with water, and we'll be using water to thin down our paint for the inside of our mason jar, which will make a little more sense when we get to that. And then I have some empty cups to mix in. And you'll want something to mix too. I've got some stir sticks here, but you can also use your foam brush if you don't have that. So just something to mix the paint with. I've also got a paper plate here for putting some paint on. And then lastly, I have an X-ACTO blade. So we're going to be using this to score our tape when we're finished. And what I mean by that is we're going to separate the tape from the paint to make sure that we get a nice clean edge when we go to pull the tape off of our surface. So we've got Stephen moderating here today. So if you have any questions about the class or about any of our products here, make sure to let us know and Stephen can answer it or pass it along to me. And we can go ahead and get started. Are there any questions about supplies, Stephen?
None so far, but like Jessie said, if you guys do have any questions, I'd be happy to relay them over to her or answer them myself. I think we're ready to get going.
Awesome. I just realized the most important thing we're using in the class I didn't say because I was going to say it first and then I didn't. We'll be using our FolkArt multi-surface paints today. So that's, of course, the most important part. If you haven't used our FolkArt multi-surface paints, I highly recommend them because they're thick and creamy and they come in so many great colors, just like our regular FolkArt formula. But the great thing about multi-surface is that, just like the name says, you can use it on multiple surfaces. So today we'll be using it on glass, but you can use it on wood, terracotta, ceramic, fabric. It's top rack dishwasher safe, which is really cool, as well as machine washable. So you can do tons of things with FolkArt multi-surface. So if you haven't used it before, go ahead and get yourself some because it's a really versatile paint to use for crafting. All right, that said, the first thing we're going to do is we are going to paint the inside of our jar. So if you guys are used to painting mason jars, I know it's like a super common painting surface, so you may be. If you wanted to paint the inside, you could use like a sponge brush or something like that, but that could get really messy and be really hard to do, especially for a larger jar like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to swirl it. And what I mean by that is just kind of like you can probably kind of tell by, the name of the technique, but we're going to swirl paint on the inside to cover it. It's going to be really quick and really easy, kind of like swirling ornaments if you guys have done that before. So to do that, I'm going to grab some of my Wicker white because that's going to be the color on the inside. And I'm going to pour that in my cup. I'm going to do a good bit. You can kind of do these jars in like batches too. So if you wanted to do a big set for a centerpiece, or like I mentioned, for gift giving, it'd be really easy to do lots at a time. So I've got my Wicker white in there. I squeezed almost the whole bottle, not quite, but a good bit of it. And then I'm just going to add a small splash of water. You don't want to water it down too much because when you go to put the paint into the jar, it won't adhere to the sides. It'll just kind of want to run down if it's too watery. So start with just a little bit at a time. So I'm just going to do a little splash, teeny bit, just enough so it's a little more flowy. Can you see how much I have in there? Just a tiny bit. And then I'm going to go ahead and mix that up with my popsicle stick. And make sure you get a really nice, smooth consistency. So that's a pretty good consistency. It's still a little bit thick. So I want to go ahead and pour a little more water in, just a tiny bit at a time, because you can always add more water, but you can't take it out. You'll have to use a lot more paint if you want to try to thicken it back up. We don't want to waste any. Should fully combine my paint and water. Make sure it's pretty thin. You could even kind of test it on your cup too. If it swirls on your cup really easily, then it'll swirl in your jar easily. A little more. So go ahead, guys, let us know where you're from. Let us know if you're crafting along or if you have plans for the upcoming holidays. We'd love to hear some of your family traditions. If you guys like to craft with your family and friends during the holidays, let us know in the comments. We love to hear from you. Okay, so that's a really good consistency. You can see here it's very liquid, but it's not like super runny and watery. So what we're going to do with this is we're going to pour this into our mason jar. And like I said, swirl it around. We're going to pour it in. And we're going to move it around until the inside of the jar is fully covered. It's really easy, it's really quick, and it's a super simple way to paint the inside of glass and see-through items. You can see it's already basically covered. I'm trying to get these edges here without dumping all the paint out. And then once you get to the top here, you want to make sure you get the rim, but then you do want to dump the excess paint out. So you don't want all that excess in there because it's just going to pool up the bottom. You want to get that excess paint out of there so there's just enough to cover the inside surface of our jar. You don't need any more than that. Once it's covered, the rest of the paint is just extra. And then this paint you could use for another jar if you're going to continue making a bunch of these at once. So you see what I mean, how you can make lots at one time and it's super easy and fast. Okay, so now we have this cute white jar. See how easy that was? And the reason we swirled the inside as opposed to base coating the outside is because A, it's just more durable because now it's just the smooth glass as opposed to paint being on it. And B, it's going to be much easier to paint on top of this and to tape on top of this without the risk of the tape pulling the paint up. So that's why we swirled the inside, and now we're going to add our stripes to the outside. So do we have any questions about that, Stephen?
No questions so far.
Okay, cool. All right, like I said, this is a really super simple and easy craft. So we're going to move right along, and it's going to be pretty quick to do. So that's why I would love to hear from you guys. Please let me know if you've got questions. Alrighty, so I think I'm going to do pink today. So the color I have here is baby pink. I've also got Patina here, and then this yellow one is Daybreak. Those are the names of these colors. So I think I'm going to do pink for my jar. Move that out of the way so there's not too much shadow. So now we are going to need our masking tape. And also I do want to mention, if you guys are doing this at home, like I said, doing in batches or you've got time to wait, I would probably put this on a rack or prop it up somehow and kind of just like let it drain for a little while if I had more time. So I would just leave it upside down like this and kind of just let all that paint kind of let gravity do its thing and let all that paint run out so you don't have any paint in there. But since we're, we only have a little while for this class, we're just going to go ahead and move along. It won't hurt it or anything. Just be a little bit messy. You wipe the edge. All right. Okay, so now we're going to make that candy stripe, like I said, using our painter's tape. So I'm going to grab a piece. I'm going to kind of work in smaller strips. You could use, your tape roll and kind of just wrap it around in one big piece, but that's just harder to work with. It's harder to control and make sure that it's nice and smooth and even. So I'm going to work in smaller pieces and line them up. So I'm going to start at the very top of my jar. And we're just going to work our way evenly around the jar, making sure that the whole time our paint is nice and flush to the surface of the jar. You don't want to have any gaps in your tape because if you do, the multi-surface paint is just going to run under it and you're going to get bumpy lines. So to get nice, clean lines, you want to make sure that your tape is fully in contact with the jar. And if you need to pick it up and kind of replace, go ahead and do that. because you want to make sure that it's nice and even and neat. That'll save you a lot of cleanup time at the end. You can kind of make your stripes as far apart as you want to, keeping in mind that where the tape is not is where your color is going to be, and where the tape is where your white's going to be, because that's masking that part off. So I'm going to grab another piece and I'm going to line it up as best I can on that last piece we had. Making sure that it's nice and flush. And what I mean by flush is that it's touching perfectly and it's coming in contact in all areas. Just gonna keep taping. Stephen, are you doing any crafting for the holidays this year?
Well, we have our plaid office gift exchange tomorrow, so I've been doing some crafting for that. Everybody in the studio is making homemade gifts to share with each other. So that is the primary crafting I've been doing. But you know, I still got time. I've got some ideas here that people in the studios are sharing with me.
Awesome. I'm excited for the gift exchange. Every year here in the content studio, we do it, like Stephen just said, a homemade Secret Santa. It doesn't matter what the gift is or how much you spend, as long as you make it yourself. So I'm excited. Tomorrow is when we get to exchange our gifts, and it's probably one of my favorite things that we do here at Plaid. So
What about you, Jesse? Are you doing any crafting at home?
you know, I did do obviously my Secret Santa. I finished that up this weekend. I also just, probably my favorite thing to craft and that I've been doing a little bit of is gift wrap. I don't know why. I know you throw it away, but I just love like hand painted gift wrap and making pom-poms for gifts and, you know, like picking my color palette out for all my presents so they look pretty under the tree. I know that's kind of extra, but for some reason, that's just one of my favorite things to do during the holidays.
Yeah, it just like makes it extra thought out, you know?
Yeah, it's just fun. I don't know. And it's something you can change every year. You can make ornaments every year, but like once your tree gets full, I don't want to like throw away my old ornaments. You know what I mean? The gift wrap is like something new to craft every year. I don't know. I just think it's a lot of fun. Okay, so now I've got my tape going all the way around. I'm kind of going back and pressing on the edges and making sure that it's all smooth and pressed down. And they're pretty widely spread. So I kind of do want to go back with a piece around the middle. So I think I'm going to go in between the swirl we have here and add some more tape. So it's a little bit closer together. Starting at the lip again, trying to keep it kind of centered. Be a little bit finicky too. So just be patient and kind of, you know, stretch the tape and try to manipulate it where you need. This tape is actually like a little bit flexible too when you use painter's tape. So you can kind of move it around as needed and get it to go where you want. You see, I've got some wrinkles here, but as long as I press on the edges and make sure that there's no, you know, little bubbles where the paint can slip through, that should be okay. We can clean those up at the end. I think it'd be really cute to do this with like different candy colors. Like, of course, you could do like a classic red peppermint, which would be fun, kind of like a candy cane. But you could also do like spearmint and swirl the inside with green and then do like white stripes. It'd be really cute. There's lots of different variations. You could do like a rainbow one, like all the different, you know, candy cane colors this time of year, all the different flavors. That would be kind of a cute variation to do, just different colored of candy for these jars.
Yeah, Jesse, we had a comment earlier from Carrie, and they said, I'm watching all of the Let's Paint projects after next week, and I'll have time to work on them. So I let them know that they should share them with us on Facebook after they're completed.
Yeah, definitely. So here on Michael's, every Monday night, we've done a paint night live where we teach you to paint a full painting in just about an hour. And then of course, Michael's saves all of those classes on their YouTube channel. So if you're interested in those, you can go back and watch all of those. And in addition to those classes, we have a Facebook group called Let's Paint with Plaid. And you can join that and become a member. And there's lots of classes on there and lots of lessons to take on the Facebook group. But just a really great community of painters. So painters and crafters, whatever kind of painting you like to do, you can join the group and share your projects and see other people's artwork. And it's just a lot of fun. So like Steven said, if you're a painter, even just, a crafter, like the class we're doing here, make sure to check out that group because we'd love to see you there. It's a lot of fun. Okay.
They just followed up and said that the paint night last Monday was so cute. The modern pop ornaments.
Oh, I love that. That was Emma. She did such a great job. And that was one of my favorite paintings, I think, of the year. That was just so cute, like very mid-century looking. I thought that was a really great painting. Okay, so now I'm going back. See, I've kind of got more tape on there. So keep in mind, all of these thin lines now are where my pink is going to be. And then the places where we taped off, that's where the white is going to stay. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to press down and just really make sure I don't have any openings, any bubbles in my tape, so no paint sneaks under. But if it does sneak under, I'll show you a couple tricks at the end for just cleaning it up so you have a really nice, really neat and tidy look. Okay, so that feels pretty good for now. All right, so now to paint the outside of our mason jar, like I said, I'm using baby pink. That's my palette. And I've got a foam brush here. So these are super inexpensive. Michael sells them, of course. So I'm going to put some paint on my foam brush. And then I'm going to dab it off because you don't want a lot of paint on this, because if you do this in, less paint and in even smooth layers, you'll get a much better look than if you try to glob a lot of paint on at once, because that'll be kind of textured. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a dabbing motion where the glass is showing. And this is my favorite way to paint glass. You could use a paintbrush for sure, but sometimes, since glass is, of course, such a smooth surface, you can see a lot of brush strokes. And that's just because, like I said, because it's such a smooth surface, you can see any kind of texture that your brush leaves. So that's why I like painting glass, because I like painting with a sponge on glass, because you get rid of those brush strokes for sure. You get a really even, smooth texture, and it's really even coverage as well. So, like I said, since it's such it's a tongue twister, since it's such a slick surface, you don't have to worry about, getting gaps and areas where it's thicker than others. It's just a little bit easier to apply it more evenly. So I'm just going all the way around. Another little sponge here too. Any kind of sponge, whether it's a sponge brush or like a sponge dauber, will work for this part. A spouncer will work. As long as it's sponge, it'll apply the paint really evenly. On the bottom. Okay, so now I've got the whole thing covered, or I should say all of the open areas covered with my baby pink. So now's the time to go ahead and remove the tape. And I like removing the tape before the paint dries. And the reason is because once it dries, while the paint sticks to the glass pretty well, it wants to stick to itself even harder. So if you have a big layer of paint over the tape, it's going to want to pull up with the rest of the paint. So what you can do to prevent that is use an X-ACTO blade to what we call score the edges. And what that means is you're just going to drag the blade on the edges of the tape to kind of separate the tape that's, or I'm sorry, the paint that's on top of the tape with the paint that's on top of the glass, if that makes sense. So you're kind of just cutting that so it's not one big sheet of paint covering the whole thing. And so it'll stick to the glass much better when you remove the tape. So that's just a little tip for painting glass. Since it's so wet, since we really did that base coat very quickly, it really shouldn't be a problem. That you'll really run into that more if you let the paint dry, or if it's a bigger project and you can't take the tape off as quickly because you took too long base coating. Then you'll want to use that scoring method. But since it's still so wet, since we kind of did that pretty fast, I'm just going to go ahead and peel it off because it's peeling off really nicely. Okay. So I don't want to stick my hand inside of it because that's super wet. You can see now we get these super cute, clean pink stripes. And like I mentioned before, you can do this in so many color combinations. You could do a traditional candy cane or these cute pastel candy colors. You can do like a, rainbow. There's this, your imagination can just run wild with all the color possibilities for this craft. But once you let it dry and make sure the inside is dry as well, you can prop it with cute little sprigs. We've got little faux greenery in here. We've got some pine cones and some little bottle brush trees we even stuck in there. How cute is that? So this is such a cute centerpiece for your home, or like I said, mantle decor. We've got some really cute little sprigs in here from Michael's. These cute little flocked sprigs in this one, which I think are so fun. And these pink bottle brush trees to kind of go with our pastel decor here, but just super cute. Lots of different ways you can prop these, and a really fun and simple craft for the holiday season. So how's everybody doing in the comments? Do you have any questions or comments before we finish up?
I don't think so. I think everybody has just enjoyed watching. I love this craft. I think it's super cute. Like you said, it's a really easy technique to it. It looks like it might be complicated when you don't know the steps beforehand, but then when you get into it, it's like, oh, it's just tape and paint, Super
Yeah, exactly.
super simple.
Yeah,
And I like that it's,
I
was gonna say, I like that it's like a wider jar too, so that way you can fit as much greenery into it as you can.
Yeah, definitely. It works really great as a vase. So you do want to keep in mind that there is paint in here, so you want to make sure it's fully dry. And you don't want to put anything that will stick to the paint. So like faux greenery and stuff like that is perfect. I don't know if I'd put like water in here with flowers. I would be afraid that would kind of mess with the jar. But anything like this would be perfect as decoration for these jars. So another super easy, super quick, and super impactful craft. I hope you guys had so much fun with us today. Again, we were using our FolkArt multi-surface paints. If you decide to make this craft and post it online, make sure to hashtag plaid crafts and make it with Michael's so we can see all of your beautiful projects out there. And we hope you have a really safe and Merry Christmas. Bye, guys.
Bye.